Senator Sanders wants to tax the rich disproportionately, but that's not keeping the employees of the country's biggest and most successful tech companies away. In fact, if you look at FEC data, it shows that Alphabet Google employees have given the most money to Sanders, topping every other company. So employees have donated more than $200,000 to the Sanders campaign. Google, Alphabet, Google, not alone. Just worth noting here, an entry-level employee at that company makes more than $100,000. Now, 4 out of the top 5 employees of Sanders donors are tech industry giants. Underlining our point, we're showing you here, Microsoft coming in at number 3, Apple and Amazon on the top 5 list. Cato Institute senior fellow and economist Dan Mitchell is with me now. Dan, thanks very much for joining me. How is it possible that the people who will actually pay the most in taxes under a potential Sanders presidency are the ones who support him the most, and not only with their words, but with their dollars?
At one level, this is just crazy, because if you look at survey data about Silicon Valley, they're supposedly fiscally conservative and socially tolerant, which is sort of libertarian. So why weren't they giving up?
Well, there are a lot of libertarians in Silicon Valley.
Yeah, but you know, the whole culture of Silicon Valley is supposed to be like that, so they should have all been pouring money into Rand Paul's campaign or something like that. But when you dig deeper, I wonder whether some of what we're seeing is simply social signaling. These are people who, over the last 15 years or so, what have they seen? They saw bigger government under Bush. They're seeing bigger government under Obama. So what's the real difference? They might be thinking, well, you know what? Fiscal policy is just going to be the same no matter who's in office. And since we're Silicon Valley people tend to socially be more on the left, they probably figure, why not contribute to Sanders? Why not show that we care? And maybe there's even something a little bit sketchy going on. Maybe you give money to Sanders, sort of like buying yourself protection. In the way that Warren Buffett was supportive of Barack Obama. It's a way of making sure that when the politicians are looking for victims, that maybe they'll overlook you because you were their friend.
Well, that's a good point indeed, Dan. I mean, we've seen in Europe that at the moment, Europe does not feel that way at all. They lowered the boom on Alphabet Google, but I understand what you're saying. I was going to ask you as well, maybe does the tech community feel somehow more insulated because Senator Sanders' vitriol has mostly been towards bankers? So do you think perhaps in Silicon Valley they say, well, we're not really bankers, we're entrepreneurs, or we're business owners, we're not bankers, so somehow maybe we will be spared?
That could be the case, too. And what's really amazing about this, you look at the profit margins for the big Silicon Valley companies, they're higher than Wall Street. They're higher than, say, Walmart and some of the other, and the oil companies. You know, the companies that get attacked by the left actually earn lower profits on average than the Silicon Valley companies. So maybe the Silicon Valley companies actually are buying themselves a little bit of a, I wouldn't call it friendship, but they're buying themselves the ability not to be targeted by the politicians. And, of course, the average young person who's thinking, oh, Bernie Sanders is great, you know, they're on their iPhone, which is one of the most profitable products ever made.
Yeah,
so all these people who benefit from capitalism, and yet they want to support these high tax policies and Bernie Sanders, who would destroy the very system that's made it possible for them to either be rich as producers or to have great products as consumers. It makes no sense whatsoever.
And it doesn't make sense, and we're also even neglecting to talk about corporate taxes. And since you mentioned Apple, makes me think of that. Indeed, there is a lot of money overseas. Apple is not the only one, but they leave money overseas because it is better for their balance sheet. Dan Mitchell, great to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you.